Gopal Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopal Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed. And thus, loving service unto the glorious Lord, who is praised with transcendental hymns, becomes established. Is an irrevocable fact. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, text number 31. See if I can make these glasses work right here. They're not exactly the size that I use to read. And they'll work. Okay, it's on the board, so let's do one word at a time first. Chadamsi Anantasya Siro Grananti Chadam Shadantasya Siro Grananti Damstra Yama Sneha Kala Vijani Damstra Yama Sneha Kala Vijani Haso Janomada Kali Cha Maya Aso Janomada Kali Chamaya Duranta Sogo Yad Apanga Moksha Sargo Yadapanga Moksha Chadam Shananta Shashiro Grananti Damstra Yamasneha Kala Dvijani Haso Janomada Kari Chamaya Duranta Sorgo Yarapanga Moksha Chadam Chananta Shasilo Grananti Damstrayamasneha Kaladvijani Haso Janomada Kari Chamaya Duranta Sorgo Yarapanga Moksha Damstrayamasneha kaladvijani Haso janomada karichamaya Duranta sargo yarapanga mokshaha
Chandamsi yandatasya sirobhinanti
Chandantasya sirobhinanti
Damstrayaman snena kala dvijani Haso jano madakari chamaya
Haso
Daranta sargo yadapanga moksha
Shandam Shanantasya Shirogrananti
Chandantasya shirobhinanti
Damstrayamasneya Kaladvijani Aso Janomaya Karichamaya Duranta Sargoya Panga Moksha
Chandam Syanantasya Shiro Grinanti Damstrayamasneha Kaladvijani Aso Janamada Karichamaya Duranta Sarga Yadapanga Moksha Chandamasi Anantasa Anantasya Sirogiranti Damstrayamasnena Kaladivyani Aso Janomada Karichamaya Duranta Sargo Yadapanga Moksha Shabdam Samtasya Sirogrananti Damstrayamasnena Kaladvijani Aso Jamadara Karichamaya Duranta Sargo Yadapanga Moksha
Ladies. Chandantasya shirogrananti Damstrayamasneha kaladvijani Aso janomada karichamaya Duranta sargo yadapanga moksha Chandam Syanantasya shirobhinanti Damstrayamasneha kaladvijani Aso janomada karichamaya Duranta sargo yadapanga moksha Chandam Syanantasya shirogrananti Kaladvijani
Aso janmada karicha maya.
Aso Janmada Karicha Maya
Duranta sargoyad apanga mokshaha.
Duranta Sargo Yadapanga Mokshaha. Anyone else? Okay, so we'll do the word for word. Chadamsi, the Vedic hymn. Anantasha, of the Supreme. Silaha, the cerebral passage. Cerebral passage. Grinanti, they say. Tamstra, the jaws of teeth. Yama, Yamaraj, the director of sinners. Sneha, Kalaha, the art of affection. Excuse me. Dvijani, the set of teeth. Hasaha, smile. Jana Udmada Kari, the most alluring. Cha, also. Maya, illusory energy. Duranta, insurpassable. Saga, the material creation. Yat apanga, whose glands. Moksha, casting over. They say that the Vedic hymns are the cerebral passage of the Lord, and his jaws of teeth, or Yama, god of death, who punishes the sinners. The art of affection is his set of teeth, and the most alluring, illusory material energy is his smile. This great ocean of material creation is but the casting of his glance over us. Please repeat. They say that the Vedic hymns are the cerebral passage of the Lord, and his jaws of teeth are Yama, god of death, who punishes the sinners. The art of affection is his set of teeth, and the most alluring, illusory material energy is his smile. This great ocean of material creation is but the casting of his glance over us. Srila Prabhupada's divine purport. According to Vedic assertion, this material creation is the result of the Lord's casting a glance over the material energy, which is described herein, is the most alluring, illusory energy. The conditioned souls who are allured by such materialism should know that the material temporary creation is simply an imitation of the reality, and that those who are captivated by such alluring glances of the Lord are put under the direction of the controller of sinners called Yamaraj. The Lord smiles affectionately, displaying his teeth. The intelligent person who can grasp these truths about the Lord becomes a soul fully surrendered unto him. I'll just run through that again since it's not very long. According to Vedic assertion, the material creation is the result of the Lord's casting a glance over the material energy, which is described herein as the most alluring, illusory energy. The conditioned souls who are allured by such materialism should know that the material temporary creation is simply an imitation of the reality, and that those who are captivated by such alluring glances of the Lord are put under the direction of the controller of sinners called Yamaraj. The Lord smiles affectionately, displaying his teeth. The intelligent person who can grasp these truths about the Lord becomes a soul fully surrendered unto him. Thus ends the Bhagavatam purport to the 31st verse, first chapter, second canto, the first steps in God realization. First step in God realization. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
I offer my humble obeisances unto lotus feet of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes, although they were certainly shut by the darkness of ignorance. Mukam karoti vachalam pongam lingayate gidem yakripatam ham bande shigurum dimtaranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Iswaram. By the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even a lame man can cross mountains, and a dumb man can recite poetry, and a blind man can see the stars in the sky. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, pretty nice verse here today. The most interesting point for me is perhaps the simplest. For the faithful, it's just another joke for those who don't share that faith. How Krishna, he cast his glance over his illusory energy, and thus he sets everything into motion. Yet this creation, it is simply an imitation of the reality. And those of us who have been captivated by this alluring glance of the Lord, and we're put under the direction of the supervision of death. Because that's what it's all about in this material world. It's temporary, so temporary means that there's this situation or this event called death. It's pervades the whole creation. We see the flowers wilting up. The roses are very nice. They bloom and they become big and they're very fragrant. But then they start to dwindle, especially after rain. You see those that are a little bit older. They really start to wither. And eventually they just fall off. And you're left with this dried up, form of bud that was there. And it's like that with everything. We have a little calf. Oh, it's so pretty and it's little and it's easy to play with. But, it grows and it becomes an adult, and, it becomes a little bit harder to keep it clean and keep the flies away, and to, unless you have a culture that's really centered all around it, its dung is no longer small, but it's quite big, and, when it urinates, maybe a gallon at a time. So where you keep her is very important. And then, just like a human being, she gets old and frail, and one day sits down and doesn't get up. So it's like that with everything, even our dogs and cats that we love so much. You see people posting all the time on Facebook, oh, my most dear friend for the past 13 years has passed on. All the time, we love creatures, but all of us creatures are simply moving on to the next destination. And as educated and as intelligent and smart as we are, we don't know where we're going. We know where we're going in this world. We have an idea. I'm sure our dear Woofer friend, he has an idea where he's going next, or where he kind of wants to go. For the next year or month at least. So we all have an idea, while in this world. But when we get older and we become frail and we know we're going to die, do we know where we're going? If not, why? But, well, because they didn't teach me at the state university or even the Ivy League school. Perhaps one did take theology. He went to some divinity school, and they taught, what those sacred scriptures were that a person read. And, that certainly gives us, a good idea. People in this part of the world had lived by it for only 300 or 400 years in America. 1,500 years in Europe. 4,000 or 5,000 years in the Near East. In India, those books have been there. There are Jewish communities that have been there for a very long time, and Christian communities that have been there since the 1st century. But there's always been holy books there. Books that are considered holy because they talk about things we otherwise wouldn't have a perception of. Like a person who can afford to do a lot of investigating, like, in a country where there's some money, then, different professors can afford to spend a lot of time researching. So, there are quite a few who have investigated past life experiences. And there's a lot of documentation about it. And it's very hard to prove it to be bogus or a scam. A lot of it, simply adds up. And there's the evidence weighs more on the side that a lot of these cases, aren't a scam. How these kids had these past life memories. You can only say that apparently it's true. And there's, different psychological or different types of psychology that deal with people's troubles, taking into consideration their past lives. And it's been very helpful. There's always been these holy books in India. India is many times considered, the land of religion. You don't just have the Judeo-Christian Islamic heritage, which evolved from the time Abraham walked out of Babylon. Of course, their creation tale says that, Babylon came about after the flood, so, it goes back to Adam and Eve if you accept it literally. and back to God ultimately, creating through His Word. But still, these are all Hebrew scriptures that were written down or committed to memory if they were not writing at the time. How long people have been writing, according to the Vedas, they say no more than 5,000 years. I don't know what our scholars say. We know that, the Egyptian type of writing, and that was one of the first. That's all within the past 5,000 years. So, we're dealing with, one set of books that give what's commonly called a creation tale. And then you have the vast amount of ancient Indian literature, technically called the Vedas. That's the word within the book that describes them, written in Sanskrit, often considered a mother tongue. Why is it that India would have anything to do with European language? But the language was so sophisticated, and they could see so many connections to Latin and Greek and Germanic languages that they created the language family called Indo-European amongst linguists. I mean, they wasn't about to accept that it was maybe the mother tongue. I mean, after all, they're the conquerors. They're not there to collaborate. They're there to conquer and control. And so you don't want to accept that you're conquering something that may be where everything has originated from. So, but amongst the people where the language was indigenous, it was called Devanagari, or the language of the gods. And to this day, Sanskrit is often praised as a perfectly phonetic language. And many people study it, even in places like Ireland and private schools and some public schools. They teach it because students seem to do better. It really helps with their intellect and memory. So these ancient books were written in that language. According to the books themselves, they come from the breathing of God, or Vishnu, along with the creation. And there are folks or people much greater than human beings who understand these what we call books, but they're sound vibrations, because after all, a book is simply sound vibrations. It's put into writing, but we're putting words into writing. Words are sound vibrations. So originally people are hearing it. They're not reading it like we do. We're reading it. They're hearing it. And these are very sophisticated beings, around the beginning of the universe. And so their facilities are much greater than what we possess. And, they can understand it and commit it to memory without any sweat, so to speak. And that way, the teachings are passed down through a class of people that can teach it to others. And then those folks can also teach it. In this way, the universe has a law book or a manual on how everything works. Just like when we purchase something, we get a manual that tells us how to put it together, or tells us how to take care of it. So in the same way, the universe came like that. And at the beginning of this particular time, which is a time when life becomes very short for human beings, in higher spheres, it's not very much affected. But in the lower spheres where human beings exist, and I know that's a slap in our face, to our ego. I mean, considering that many of us believe we are the epitome of God's creation, most intellectual of all races that have ever walked the earth, but not according to the Vedas. So we're just a middle planetary system with beings whose lives have now become much shorter and more unfortunate than ever before. So in this day and age, things had to be written down because there was no longer a class of people who could simply hear it and teach it. That dwindled out with the change of ages. People's brains, minds, the facility, the memory just became too short. And without having things in writing, it wasn't possible to contain it. So it was all written down approximately 5,000 years ago by Veda Vyas, according to the books and the indigenous people themselves. But, we white folks, Caucasian, European race, we weren't going to have anything to do with that. People wrote this down 5,000 years ago before our King James version of the Bible. That wasn't suitable. We were going to really investigate this and find out, where these people came from and where these books came from. And by the science of linguistics, we have ascertained that this all came from, conquerors from Europe and Central Asia at a certain time. And, we wrote down those books and we drove the darker-skinned people to the south and created this civilization based upon these books and Sanskrit language. That's where it all came from. So in that way, they felt very comfortable with themselves and their, conquering this land, which brought in good revenue. Wasn't like conquering Native American Indians, which didn't bring in any revenue. Taught us how to grow corn and tomatoes and chilies and various things. But it was their land that we wanted, and didn't care much for their science of weaponry, since ours was superior. We simply drove them onto reservations and took it all over. But in India, you had a civilized race of people that were used to government, sophisticated government and taxation, and people have been conquering it for the past, since about, outside of the subcontinent of India, it's been being conquered for the past, since about 800 AD. So, what is that, 1,200 years or so? There's been, first the Persians came in. They were already converted to Islam themselves, and they were the first conquerors. But, besides trying to kill the culture and convert it to Islamic culture, they didn't want to have anything to do with destroying the revenue base, because that facilitated their ability to control the land through their military. It was 90% of their budget went into the military, paying off unlimited number of mercenaries and generals and their tribal clans or whatever to, fight on behalf of the government and control the people. And then eventually, of course, we white folks came there and, did the same thing in the sense of conquering and grabbing hold of that revenue base. There's a big revenue base. There's a lot of money collected. Not to even consider the spoils of war. Not even considering that. This was a regular monthly to yearly revenue that funded the British Empire. And not only that, but provided some of their best soldiers. So this ancient Vedic knowledge has been there. And this knowledge, it gives us ever insights on what happens at the time of our death. And these books are very much worth reading. Otherwise, why would they even have an Indology department at the University of Harvard? It was a Christian divinity school originally. I mean, sure, it's to understand, a whole nother culture of people. But nowadays you have many of these chairs and these departments that are chaired not by Christian academicians who are educated in this particular field, but really don't share the faith, so to speak, but you have actually devotees of the faith who are teaching. So it obviously just is something worth hearing. The proof being that it's taught within the very own culture most of us in here have been born in. And our most prominent schools. So obviously, it's something worth hearing. And if those of us who have taken the trouble to hear it and listen to these sound vibrations, it clears up one of these, or them, I don't know. Oh, okay. It clears up whatever we don't understand or doubts we have about life, or what we may just put off because it's not important. What's important is economic development, generally speaking. And that absorbs most human beings 24/7 throughout most of their lives. And maybe at the fag end of life, one may think about these things. Or just have faith and, it's always been there in the family. But in an educated world, people want to understand the valuable things that are there. And so therefore, when A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami came to New York in 1965 with a trunk load of books, the books started selling. And people have been able to take advantage of them, and they have been very much appreciated. It's not like he was the only author to present them. It's grown exponentially. I mean, it's grown, hundreds and thousands of times fold. People are making a lot of headway in our world, believe it or not. We do hope that a better civilization will come about. We're all familiar with our world today and current events, and the world is very proud of itself. But we know there's the dark side, that we can't stop fighting, and we got a ton of crime to deal with every place. And the only way we get rid of it is by having some dictatorial government that doesn't play around and just if you're arrested, you never get out, or they just get rid of you real quick. And so everybody toes the line. And usually they still can't get rid of a black market, but they can get rid of whatever they want through things that don't fit within our court systems. But overall, there's all kinds of darkness in the world that, if we're going to make a better civilization, these things have to be weeded out. I mean, just simple things like people's health problems. Health problems are a huge problem in the world. And what to speak of the problem of dying. People have forgot how to die. We just keep trying to stay alive, and that's part of the problem. No wonder we pay whatever we made during our life and our savings, we pay to stay alive. And therefore, there's nothing to pass on to the future generation because we wasted it trying to keep something alive that cannot possibly stay alive. People have forgotten how to die. we've made such a thing over it that, no longer can anybody just go die. You have to go through, all sorts of things. But even in our medical field, if you don't have the money, eventually they tell you, hey, get hold of yourself. You're just going to die. We can't do anything else for you. You don't have no money to get the next best thing. That's what they tell you. As long as you got money, though, they'll keep doing their best to keep you alive, Until it's all gone, and then they say, well, what do you want us to do, One day you got to die. Pull the plug. So, all these things, have to be worked out and ironed out in our society. But eventually, at least according to the prophecy of, our movement, there will be a better civilization come out of all of it. People will learn how to live together in harmony. People will learn how to die and how to live and have as healthy a life as possible and to deal with whatever karma you have been blessed with, by the cards of destiny. And everything will be able to be utilized in such a way that there's a better karma rather than ill karma for it. So we not only do we have hope, naturally we have hope, but we're making progress and actually trying to bring that about in our world. Not just in America. America, of course, is one of the, if not the most important country in the world. And so it's very important, those of us who minister to this part of the world. But all over the world, in every place, we're trying to make it happen. And slowly but surely, it's happening. People are taking advantage and they're learning how to live together. It's not that if you're Christian, you're afraid to go to the Muslim part of the world. Or if you're Muslim, you're afraid to go where, you don't have a community of people to protect you. And the same for, various other types of identifications. Because I don't really share any of these beliefs, I have to worry about people, finding out about me and I can't advance in the job market because, I'm considered, it's not as bad nowadays, but 100 years ago it was a lot like that. I won't, there'll be some kind of ceiling there for those of us who, don't share the faith. And so, a world where everybody can live together in a better way, is ultimately based on Krishna consciousness, on consciousness of the Supreme, and a consciousness of the way He made the world, and and how it's going to go on, and who I am, and what are my natural God-given rights to live, and to do, and to get where I want to go. Even at the time of death, I can get what I want. There actually are some people that don't mind coming back as a dog or a cat. In fact, they think that's groovy to use the type of language they used back in the 60s. But there's other people, that would prefer something better, or people who want to come back here and take up where they left off. They want to come back and win this and win that, or earn this and earn that, and display this and display that. And they'll cope with all the miseries that go along with this world. And then there's others that just want to transcend it. They have grown tired of it. It's gotten old. And, they're ready to move on to something better. Even if, that's what that picture describes back there that Mother Madhava Priya drew, that picture. It's a real nice picture. It shows the people that want to live in this world and shows the different mammals and insects and things, but then it also shows the celestial worlds. You know, how, you know, it's nice there, you know, I mean, there's not as many health problems, you know, there's a lot of, you know, life's just really enjoyable, you know, the body's enjoyable, the relations between different sexes is really fabulous. And it's a very nice place. And then, you know, there's those realms beyond all that. There's the realm of light that is eternal. And then there's what Prabhupada was describing in the purport. There's the reality of which this world is an illusion. There are trees that don't wither and die, and whose fruit is much greater than the fruits that trees bear in this world. And you know, there is land, and there is night and day, and even seasons that are pleasing. But there's not the harsh drama of having to survive. I mean, there, everything is always nice. It's what we would want. I don't know if it was like that for y'all when you were a kid, but when I was a kid, I always had this, like, intuition, or maybe it was like a dream, that I was all right as long as I was on my front porch. I felt at home, and there everything was all right. And I didn't have a big scope of, you know, growing older and dying. You know, I was just a kid who wanted to play. You know, I don't know, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old, like that. But there is a world like that. You know, and you know, after you grow up and you learn how harsh this world can be, then, you know, to understand that it's just an illusion. It's just temporary. But it's a perversion of what is actually real. There does exist a place where I'm at home and I'm comfortable. And really, I don't have nothing to worry about. There's no anxiety. And, you know, of course, the devotees know that word is Vaikuntha. You know, no anxiety. Kunta means anxiety, and Vai is some sort of preposition that means, you know, negates it. So it negates the anxiety, Vaikuntha. So, you know, there is such a realm like that. And as a human being, you know, I can grasp that. You know, that really, that's the most valuable thing to gain in life. Not just money or, you know, some property in this world that I'll have to pass on to somebody, definitely the government if no one else. But there's something better to grasp, you know, and that as a human being, I can do that. You know, people have done it in the past. You know, they've learned how to meditate upon it, to think about it. They don't just have to keep listening to things about this world, you know, songs about love in this world that all comes to an end. No, they can actually, you know, listen to things about that world. And, you know, and start to take pleasure in that world while we're still in this world. And even transcend it. Otherwise, all these people would be wasting their time. You know, who's got the time to meditate 2 hours a day? There's more valuable material things we could be doing. You know, unless there's a reality to it. So that the reality to it is we can grasp what is real and escape what is illusory and temporary. That's the reality of it all. We can grasp it now. As a human being, we have this capacity. The soul in a dog's body might not. You don't see dogs meditating, they sleep. Same with any other mammal other than a human. Including chimpanzees. They don't have the same facility. That's not their facility. This is the extra special facility of a human being. Not just to make ships, spaceships, and nuclear submarines, and all sorts of things like that. The real brain is meant for being able to transcend. I mean, otherwise, why do we have this huge spiritual heritage? It's not that this is something new. You know, what's new is militarism based on capitalism or communism. That's what's new. You know, but what's old is that there's always been these spiritual heritages here for people to transcend and get beyond death. That's the real heritage of humanity. So, it's getting late. We have to quit now. Unless there's something that can be answered real quick, we can just stop. It's already quarter to 8. What time is it? 8:45, right? Or 20:09, is that right? Yeah, 20:09. Okay, anything? John?
What do you think, you said, you're talking about knowledge, the coming of the Vedas, the books. What do you think could have caused that break, from not knowing to knowing?
From not knowing to knowing? No, it's always been known. There isn't no, in reality, there is no not knowing, no ignorance. Ignorance comes about in this world like darkness. But where there's sunlight, there is no darkness. So where there's Krishna or God, the absolute truth, where there's the absolute truth, there is no darkness or just a competition of competing philosophies of relative truth. There's an absolute truth, a truth that's the perfection of all truth. And so that's always there. And knowledge about it is breathed out when Vishnu breathes out the creation, the multitude of universes. It's breathed out with it. He enters into every universe with it. So it's always there. But, there are those of us who take our birth in this creation who are meant to be ignorant. We don't want that knowledge, John. How can you go to the bar and have a beer and, watch the football game, and without worrying about your death, or worrying about, transcending or stuff like that, or worrying about what the priest has to say about it, something like that, I mean, there's different modes to different folks. So not everybody is interested in transcendental knowledge. We may be interested in something to get a better job, There are different types of knowledge. It's not material knowledge. There's lots of material knowledge too, but that's for living in this world, for temporarily. But there's knowledge of how to, how to go beyond the temporary world. That you have to look into, just like we've looked into things in this world. So it's not like we've always been ignorant, or the world's always been ignorant. There's always been knowledge and enlightenment. It's just that, we have to step out of the darkness, or, get out of the bar for a while. I mean, sometimes people talk about these things in the bar. I mean, the bar's a place of great camaraderie. And people talk about whatever they want, But, generally speaking, it's in an intoxicated state of mind. We have a hard time actually grasping on to transcendental philosophy, and, we can't, that type of life, it's not conducive to meditation, or even to just having mercy, or not, or performing austerity. Who wants to perform any type of austerity, when you really want to go out and smoke a joint, or pop a pill, or, after all, how did opiates make it so great? Because golly, you can just take the pill and, get all over the pain. The pain in this world. People have a lot of pain. So that's why they prescribe it. But because comes from opium, it's addictive. And so, even when you shouldn't be taking it no more and have to deal with the world again, people became habituated to it. So it's not that, so intoxication is not conducive for austerity. Austerity means some voluntary suffering. I mean, it's a little bit of voluntary suffering to wake up real early and to come and meditate 2 hours a day. It takes a heck of a lot of mind control. So, but if you're intoxicated, you don't have that type of spiritual strength. It's a spiritual strength. Intoxication takes away from our spiritual strength, and spiritual strength means you can perform some austerity. You can accept a little voluntary suffering for spiritual advancement. It's not for material. Nobody's going to pay us something for doing it. It's not a paying job. In the material sense. So, anyway, we could, we'll end up going on till 9 o'clock, and so don't want to make it a habit, so let's cut off right now. Srila Prabhupada, keep going.